Beautiful Siri. Welcome to the Abundance Club. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
I, you know what? I feel like there are so many places where I could start. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. There's a lot that I want to dive into, but can I just start with your name because I love it and I feel like there's a story there, perhaps. Is there?
Thank you for saying you love it. I appreciate that. It has definitely morphed over time. More recently, in the past 10, I would say, years, in the past decade, it's definitely become a different story because of Apple.
Oh, yeah.
And the actual thing is that people don't know is this operating system was called SRI. That was the acronym, right? And so then they added in an I between the S and the R to just make it sound like a name. So my husband was actually working for Apple at the Beverly Center in West Hollywood
Oh, gosh.
when the Siri thing came out. And it just happens to be this, I guess, there's no real coincidences, but this mystical thing that happened where I went from having to spell my name, pronounce my name, explain it, to then people like always having a little funny joke or anecdote or something that they wanted to share. And of course, what happens so often now is if someone says my name, wherever I am, it just sets off people's phones. And it's kind of become this amusing thing. So, but originally, Siri is a popular name in Norway and in India, and I'm sure other places as well. My parents were in a yoga Kundalini ashram for almost a decade. And I was born at home on a futon, and the one of the head
In the
yogis
ashram you were born?
in the ashram
Wow. Yeah.
in the yoga ashram, and they all kind of lived in community. And I was born there at home, and one of the head yogis named me. And Siri in Sikh Indian culture means great. So great. And then my middle name is also from that Sikh tradition, which is Kaur, which is like all the women were kind of referred to as like Kar, which is like princess. And then my last name, not my married name, but my last name is Baruch, which is Baruch, which is Jewish and like the Hebrew blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Elohim, right? So, Great Princess Blessed was the kind of the full meaning of my name, which is always like such a special kind of
Yeah.
feeling to have, you know? So thank you for asking. That's so nice.
I think it is special. And that's what I felt with I'd read that you lived in an ashram or were born in an ashram and had yogi parents as well, right? So I thought that that must have come through in some way from there. I mean, I know the later adaptation of Siri and all of that, but honestly, I do. I think it's so beautiful and so reflective of you. You know, one of the things I have had the pleasure of listening to your podcast, a few
Oh, thank
episodes of
you.
your podcast, and I love it, The Authentic Creative. And you know, when I was preparing for this and reflecting on you and your essence, like, and I get a lot of information that comes through my guidance system, and the words that came for me for you were really like it was just this very clear, like on purpose. Like you're someone for me that just seems like you're here, grounded in your mission and tapped into your soul purpose. And I know that I can say that and that may feel real for you. And I know we can have our own doubts and things that come up, but for me, that's really clear. So I wanted to start with reflecting that back to you. And, you know, you have this immense capacity to hold space for people. And I really admire that. It's something that I love to do as well. And I think that when we can
Mm.
do that, we're allowing people to tap into the highest version of themselves. So I would love to know if we're talking about soul purpose, and I know that you work in this world as well, obviously in doing the Akashic records, like have you felt this for a while, or do you feel this, or was there a point in your life that you felt like you really said yes to your soul and yes to your soul mission? And what did that look like for you?
Thank you for validating me, for dignifying me, for uplifting me. That is so much of what I like to do for others and what we do with the, you say Akashic, I say Akashic. Let's call the whole thing off. It doesn't matter. But it's all the same, the fact that you and I both do that for others. And I appreciate so much the space to be able to share authentically. And the fact that you listen to the authentic creative means the world to me. Currently working on a compilation of the highlights from 2024, which is a huge project, what I'm right in the middle of, and it's a lot of energy. So,
I love
so
it.
that's what's
Congratulations.
going,
'Cause that's a
that's what's going
real
on
that's a real
today.
milestone for,
So exciting, but like
yeah.
also a lot of work.
Yeah.
So to answer your very deep, resonant question is I actually was an angry child a lot of the time and very much felt that the world was sort of crumbling underneath me, shifting underneath me, couldn't quite get my footing. And I've always been a manifesting generator, I realize in retrospect, that was always creating a wave of emotion from my body. And so big emotions, big feelings. And I believe that I was expressing what my parents were unable to express. They
Mm.
didn't have this language we have of nervous system regulation. They didn't have kind of podcast outlets where everyone's sharing vulnerably and authentically in that kind of way where we can learn from each other and everything's just the veil is lifted. They were very much doing their best and incredible parents in their own ways. But, in terms of feeling in alignment with my soul's calling, I think that I always was interested in guidance.
Mm.
The little book of instruction, there was some little life's book of instructions that I used to read when I was like 10. I was looking for the answers. Same as my parents, seekers, truth seekers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how do I live correctly? How do I live the best life? And that's been a through line for sure. And I think through this constant seeking and constant grappling with big emotion, I've always looked for ways to express that emotion authentically, to find belonging with other people who understand my way of being in the world. And then as I got older, to bring safety and healing and community to others. So I think that, and just being up late at night, I remember when I was in college and just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing, like, so always looking for like, what is my purpose? What is my truth? What am I supposed to do? What am I here to express? And I think so many of us, especially if
Inspiring.
they're listening to your podcast, like relate to that.
I relate to that. I like so much of what you say. I can remember being in my late teens and starting that process of like, and similar, that seeking and that inquiry and that writing, and what you're doing in that is like really opening up this portal to your soul, that curiosity. You're just opening up the gateway that says, here I am, I'm ready, show me, guide me. And I love that you've said that, because there's a real simplicity about that as well. We can really get in our head and think like, what am I here to do? And what is my soul purpose?
Mm,
And I just want to know, and all of this. And we
mm.
can really intellectualize it when we all have access to those tools that just open up the floodgates to receive that guidance.
Yeah, we all have access.
Mm.
And I think most of us, a lot of us, have a deep longing to understand,
Yeah.
the bigger picture. And I think it's that seeking heart that seeks to understand that seeks to be fully expressed, that seeks this like deep, meaningful, purposeful connection, that is what motivates us to be our best selves
Yeah.
and to create what we create in the world.
And that's only expanding, I feel. Like I just feel like as we're moving through this time of really ascending and awakening, that our souls are urging us to wake up and remember. I always think of it as it's all there within us. We chose it, and it's that remembrance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what you find as well in the work that you do, and just supporting people to kind of like it's just peeling back those layers and coming back to the truth that's always been there. And I love what you said about also like you're holding that torch for the generations before you that weren't resourced to be
Mhm.
able to tap into that. And I think that, you know, when we tap into soul purpose, it's not just about, I mean, our fulfillment is like a part of it, great, but it's our offering to the greater cosmos and the collective and the generations that have been before us and those that are still to come. Like it feels so much bigger than just what we're here doing in this little lifetime. Do you agree with that? Does that
Yeah, and
feel real to you?
I believe in many lifetimes.
Yeah.
So when people say, "Well, you just have this one life," I'm like, yeah, I love the fact that it's carpe diem and seize the moment, yes. But I don't believe in just one life.
No.
As we talked, you mentioned the Akashic Records. I believe in many lives. I remember that book, Many Lives, Many Masters. Like, I do think that it's important to seize the moment, be in our purpose and create value every day. And also, I believe that energy, I don't believe I know, the truth is scientifically that energy cannot be destroyed.
Yeah.
We are energy, we are light, it cannot be destroyed. So I do believe that we have been here, and I respect people that don't believe this, but I do believe we have been here, we will be here.
Mm.
And so there is a comfort, yes, but it's true. To me,
Yeah.
it's true. My soul believes, knows that this is true. So if I know that I've been here before and I'll be here again, it takes a little bit of the pressure off of get everything done, do it all now, have your purpose fulfilled now. It's like, okay, you're expansive, you're infinite, you've been here, you'll be here.
Yeah.
Let's just zoom out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a really great perspective. And I completely agree with you as well. And that's my soul truth and soul knowing. And if you've ever had a past life regression, it's there. It's so evident. And I had an experience of being here and being in other places simultaneously as well, and being in other lives simultaneously, which was really great. But it felt so true. It just felt so real for me. It was like of course I'm here and I'm there, right? We are expansive beings. So I think that it's so powerful when we remember what is a way that you personally tap into your own soul and guidance, or the practices that really have supported you to enhance that.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I just want to say the fact that you said, of course, is so perfect. Have you studied Dr. Linda Howe's work? Who
No.
teaches the Akashic? She was the mother of the Akashic. I interviewed her. Okay, so that's her whole thing is, of course, when we learn about past lives, of course. And then that brings us to empathy and the compassion. So I just had to get that out. Now, remind me again
Love
of what
that.
your
I love
question
that.
was.
So for you in being able to, because you're someone that is clearly, and even when I listen to you, right, you're a channel and you're a clear channel. What are ways that you receive your guidance from your soul? Or
Right.
what are the things
Yes.
that have helped you or the practices that have helped you to tap into that? For people that are like, okay, I'm curious about this and I want to expand on this more. And I know you've got your own practices.
There are times when you bump into channeling, information, wisdom, and you don't necessarily know how or why. And that's what was happening to me was I've been practicing Reiki for 26 years professionally, and I would be giving a Reiki session to someone on the table, and I would just start to channel information knowing, other people's relationships, unborn children, pets that had passed. I didn't know how or why exactly what the structure of that was. So it was unpredictable. So I think a lot of us, most of us, especially when we're younger, have these experiences of being this pure, clear channel, and then we get invalidated and we shut it down. And really, what our work is, if we want to be more of that channel, is to dissolve the invalidation,
Mm.
right? And that's through love, that's through compassion, that's through understanding, that's through, of course, I shut this down. Of course, I felt scary.
Mm.
And so, just the remembrance, like you said, it's so much about remembering the remembrance of you have everything in you to be able to access infinite wisdom. It's not just for the special. It was made that way, that it was structured that way, that it was like just for the special.
Yeah.
But it's not just for the special.
Yeah.
We know we are our highest authority. So we know that the answers are within us. We are the answer. And of course, we're going to gain wisdom and insight and perspective and knowledge from so many outside sources. But so much of it, like you said, when we hear the truth, is a remembrance. We know it's true because you said, like, you feel it in your body, right? Like, you just know it in your soul. So it's really surrendering, opening, remembering, oh, this is all a part. I am a part of the one. The oneness, all a part of God, a part of universe, whatever you want to call it. And so there is this, I believe, this collective consciousness, and we can all tap into it. So I tap into it in a lot of different ways. I tap into it through the Akashic, which is a sacred prayer that I use, that I teach others. I tap into it through Reiki, and that was accidentally originally, but now it's like, oh, I can, use the Reiki symbols and mantras. This specific third symbol is the one that really can tap into the Akashic. So if I'm opening my heart and I'm using unconditional love, I can tap into that wisdom. I like to tap into it, especially more recently. I've been chanting a lot more with my husband because he's been really dedicated to his practice. And so through Buddhism, so through Nichiren Buddhism, I chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo to the Gohanzen. That is a way, a mirror of infinite possibility. So that's a way I tap in. And meditation,
Mm.
whether it's my own guided meditation, whether it's someone else's meditation. Breathwork is my favorite, yummy, yeah,
Talk about
just
that. What is
the
this
most
mountain
delicious
breath work?
way of tapping in.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
do mountain breath work with Reiki. Like I've breathwork teaching myself, but through the yogic tradition, I know breathwork
hmm
got very on trend in different ways. What is your style of breathwork, and how have you found that in? Because we spoke earlier about the importance of being able to access, to be able to regulate your nervous system, to be able to expand your capacity, which I know is a big part of it's like your tagline, right? Expanding your capacity to feel good, which I love. And I feel like breath work is just such a powerful gateway into that and expand that into that. It's something that's free and then we all have access to it. So what's been your experience with that, with your mountain breath work? Because this sounds like with Reiki as well, like complete beautiful package.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so you mentioned Reiki. I'll start with that because that came first. And when I was a teenager, my mom became a Reiki master and she gave me what are called attunements, and that's what you receive when you have Reiki and you want to become a practitioner of Reiki, right? So I remember the crumbling of the shell of anger, the disarmoring of my heart. I remember the tears and the warmth in my body and the relief and the melting away of the walls and the fear. and the upset. And that will never leave one's experience when they have an experience like that, right? So, of course, you naturally, when you have a life altering experience that is of pure unconditional love and surrender and melting away of everything that has held you back from feeling good, you want to intrinsically, inherently, you just want to give that to others. So that is what I infuse every breathwork session with, is that unconditional love. Everyone has access to it, and it's just intentionality, right? And symbols and mantras. So you've had those attunements. So I infuse every session with that. I think that's part of what makes the
Yeah.
particular flavor of breathwork that I facilitate unique, is because of that. And then also there's so many other things, like someone's energy and the music they choose and whatnot. I always say to people, like, try every flavor of breathwork because they're all so different. If you've had one experience of breathwork, you've had one experience. That's it. That's all you've had. Like, really, I think there's so many benefits from various practitioners. But the breath work came about 20 plus years ago from a girlfriend, and we were exchanging. I used to do this so much, and I still do a little bit, but exchanges, right? So I was giving her Reiki, she was giving me breathwork sessions, New York City, in Chelsea, New York, and also in Astoria, New York, in Queens. And that again was this, just like we say, like coming home to ourselves, right? It was just coming home to the soul that I was. It was just this feeling of being seen, heard, known, validated, supported, guided, feeling so much catharsis and
Mm.
heart opening, body processing on its own what it knew to process, because it's so wise. So it knew exactly what trauma, little trauma, big trauma, that needed to be processed. And once I was given that safe space and the directions, it was like, boom, my body was like, let's go.
Yeah.
So 10 sessions of that breath work, I was completely in love, completely in love. And then cut to 20 plus years later, I think it was like 2022 that I rediscovered breath work and fell in love again with it, and was just like, oh, this is like better than sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Better than any drug.
really, yes, better than any experience ever, because it's just everything. And I've been a professional actor my whole life, side note. And
Mm.
even those, the most highlighting experiences of my acting career, acting all over the world, this is better, honestly, because it's everything. And it's in the comfort of your own home, which is, I think so. I love caves. Like, in human design, my best environment is caves. So I love to like be in the safety of my cave.
I'm the same.
So
I love
your
that too.
caves?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the solitude. I so need to cocoon and I need that. I'm also a projector, right? So I do need
Ah.
that space and so I agree, like things that you can access yourself, like those somatic practices that you can do yourself without having to go and take yourself anywhere else, or
Mm.
it can be beneficial as well being part of a group environment, but to be able to just tap in and access that whenever you want is the greatest gift that you can give yourself, really.
Yes, yes. And speaking of what you're saying is, you're in your own home, but you're everywhere all at once,
Yeah.
is my experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a
And it takes you
psychedelic
there.
mushroom journey in that way. Like,
Yeah.
you really can have an epic movie flash before you of your life in the most profound way, where you have all this compassion. When you're in a breathwork session, you can see this. Maybe doesn't happen for everyone, but a lot of people, it is a possibility for them. You can see these aspects of your life, these relationships in your life, these pieces of your life that are healed, and pieces of your life that were just really profound and meaningful. And you
Mm,
see them like a life review from
mm,
all sides, like that Joni Mitchell song, like Both Sides Now. Like, you
mm,
see it from all sides
mm,
with compassion, just like
mm.
in the Akashic. So again, it's like, of course, I just inherently want to give that to others.
And I
It's
love
like,
that. It's such a
yeah.
reverence, like the way that you speak about the practice and the body and even that tapping into your soul. it's really about just creating the conditions. And, I've used the word intention a bit as well. Like our intention is everything, our attention and our awareness. And then our bodies know what to do, right? We are so intelligent. We can tap into anything. I mean, look at us. We can grow a body and we can grow ourselves in a human body. Like it's miraculous. We are miraculous. We are the miracle. And it's just
Yes.
creating those conditions to tap in, to have the intention, and then really just trusting and having reverence that we know what to do. We're here. It's mapped out for us. It's mapped out.
Yeah, it's like getting out of our own way is the
Yeah,
work,
yeah, yeah,
right? So that
yeah,
our animal body can do what it knows how to do.
yeah, yeah. And you've mentioned a bit that dissolving. And I just love that word because I think, particularly for, I mean, I know I work a lot with women and, and particularly for high functioning women where we've been there before. I mean, I know I've been there before in different aspects, but it's that peeling back the layers and that dissolving and coming back to what really matters and to our truth. And so I just love the word dissolving. I love what it represents and that feeling of just shedding and clearing and coming back to what's real, which brings me to like your name for your podcast, The Authentic Creative. And the other thing that I feel from your energy is that you are deep in your authenticity. You're steeped in that authenticity and embodiment. And that's what makes you a great space holder, right? As well. It's really, when people are in their authenticity, as you would know, it's deeply refreshing. It's, you feel safe. You immediately feel,
Yeah, right now, I mean, you're bringing me back to life. I was tired from doing a little bit of extra work today, like I said, with the editing and
mm,
all of this. And you're bringing me back to life with your reflections, with your breath, with your safety, with your
mm,
dignifying me. And so that's what we do for each other. That's
yeah,
what we can do for each other as light workers, warriors of light, goddesses of light.
yeah.
And we need each other. The collective is so
Do.
important, you know? It's like so important to have tribe, for women to have tribe, for us to reflect back to the other person how incredible they are. Oh my gosh, you're in your authenticity. It's like, thank you. Because I constantly am questioning as I'm, creating this highlights episode of 2024. I'm like, is this authentic? Constantly
Yeah.
like, is this
But
authentic? Is this,
don't you
because there's
feel
so
like
many
that's
layers of the
always
authenticity.
going
You're
to be
like, but
there?
there's like a deeper layer. There's like,
Yeah.
this is my authentic in this moment. But then I'm like, wait. What's like the more? Because there's just always another layer of like
There
deeper
is.
truth.
And I feel like that voice is always going to be there while we're in our humanness, right?
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
how much we can be really steeped in our authenticity, the ego mind is still there that's going to question,
Yeah.
particularly as we are expanding. And I think that's really important to mention because we all will experience this on our journey once we make a choice to follow that soul's calling and to expand and to do the breath work and to do the regulation of the nervous system. And we are expanding, but we are going to meet that growth edge and that contraction, which is going to come through in doubt and in the voices of the ego. And I think it's important to mention that. And no matter how far you want on this journey, it's always still there. We just change our relationship to it, right? We just know how to talk with that aspect of ourselves, how to tend to it.
And it's interesting because authenticity is so many things to so many people in different moments.
Yeah.
So if you ask me what's my truth in this moment, there's going to be one answer. But then, depending on who I'm talking to, depending on what vibration I'm in, it's like there's so many authentic aspects. I just feel like we're so multidimensional, and it's like, well, this is authentic to like if I'm putting my teacher hat on, or if I'm putting my
Yeah.
podcaster hat on, if I'm putting my daughter or my wife or my mother, all these roles we play.
Yeah.
And it's like there's different answers based on what role I'm playing in any given moment,
This is so
right?
true. And I feel like the challenge is then, and I know that this is true for me, so I'm sure it's true for others, is how can I be in that authenticity, in that truth across all spaces and places, right? It's easier to do it in an environment like this where we might feel really connected and tapped in and welcomed and received. But it's when you're in those other spaces that don't feel as safe, where you don't feel like you may be accepted for being in all of your truth, whatever
Mm-hmm.
places and spaces, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's in circles of friends where you
Mm-hmm.
haven't revealed all of your truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether that's,
Yeah.
leading up to Christmas, whether that's in families. And so I feel
Yeah.
like this is the real challenge point is like, yeah, I can feel authentic in this and be in my truth in spaces where it feels really safe to do that. And I know I'll be received. But to do that in across all spaces, that's where the challenge is, right?
Yeah, and everyone's going to receive and perceive us differently, regardless of how authentic we are across all
Mm.
spaces. Because I think I am pretty authentic across all spaces. And also, there are levels of which I am protecting myself in various ways, depending on who I'm with or who I'm around or what space I'm in.
So do you think sometimes we need to do that?
Yeah, I think there's something about getting to have discernment
Mhm.
around how much, and I think of it as like I remember when I used to teach Reiki, and I mean, I haven't taught a class in a minute, but I will soon. But I would talk about in the affirmations based on the sacral chakra, and in the affirmation book that I would read from, it would say, I am open to everyone at all times, something like that.
Mm.
And I changed it because I was like, I am open when I want to, when I choose to. My sacral is open how and when I choose and want.
Yeah.
So I think that we get to have the discernment of how much vulnerability we're going to have based on how safe we feel.
Well,
And
that's what
that's,
boundaries are for, right?
yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, boundaries and just we all, Tracy Litt says, we're all walking trauma responses. So,
Mm.
if I feel extra vulnerable around certain people or certain environments, you know, I'm allowed to kind of not not like what's the word I'm trying to say? Titrate.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to titrate my energy
Yeah.
and I'm allowed to protect, because I think this thing of authenticity is like, no, you don't have to share everything all the time, your whole self everywhere you go all the time.
Mhm.
You can
And that's still
you
being in
can
your
share
truth.
what feels good.
Yeah. Sometimes it might be dangerous to share all your full truth, right? Like I remember I used to live in Byron Bay. Do you
Uh-huh.
know Byron Bay in Australia?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it is quite a hippie town. It's not so much. It's a bit more commercialized now, but at the time I was going through a bit of a spiritual awakening. At that time I was a Hawaiian massage therapist, and I was hanging out with a lot of different people that were on a similar kind of awakening journey. And I remember being out for dinner with one friend. It was a guy friend, but he was really on this path of, let's say in yoga, like satya, like just really being in their truth, like, but
Hmm.
no matter what, in all circumstances, which meant expressing, like feeling like he could express whatever was there in his heart. And so if that meant that there was a waitress there that he was then having feelings for or feeling activated or aroused towards, he felt that he could then share that. And it was really interesting to just have
Mm-hmm.
this experience of like, yeah, sometimes being in your truth may not be like, can be ahimsa, like it like can be or can be creating a little more violence than actually, as you said, that discernment and knowing that is my truth appropriate in this moment. And it was, yeah, I just had that memory flood back
Yeah,
in.
I think that's an important part of the conversation of authenticity that I haven't actually had a dialogue around hardly at all. So
Mm.
I'm glad that we're talking about it because read the room. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
your truth is great for your journal
yeah.
and not always for, depending on what situation you're in.
Might not feel safe for the people that are there as well, right? It's it's it's
Yeah, we get to
interesting.
use our wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. And tapping into that and knowing and yeah, and as you said, like sometimes your truth might be, you know what, in this moment I'm feeling this does not feel like a safe space for me to express all of who I am, and so I'm going to make this choice, you know.
Yeah, there are definitely, I just like, there are definitely spaces where I have learned the hard way
Yeah,
through being, quotes, authentic, speaking my truth, that it wasn't a safe space to do that in. And
yeah,
I've gotten, quotes, in trouble
yeah,
for being authentic and speaking my truth. And sometimes it's a matter of learning to be more comfortable being uncomfortable with people not appreciating or liking your wisdom, your
yeah,
truth, your authenticity. And that's definitely a part of the self work, right? But
bingo, yeah,
and also we can avoid certain situations. Like I know the people that I can be 100%
yeah,
authentic around and in what timing I can be 100% authentic with them because they might not have the space, the bandwidth, the ability all the
yeah.
time.
But what a gift those people in those circles are, right? Like, isn't that
Such a gift.
true gift when you have, and it might just be, I know for me, it's a really small circle of a few people that I feel completely safe, that I know I'll be received no matter how I am, like in my truth, in my vulnerability. And when you hold that space for someone, I just think that that is such a sacred gift. Really, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that AI cannot replace
Yeah,
is that personalized sacred space holding.
that
And that
felt
is
them.
part of what I love about breathwork is you're going to get complete non-judgment and just being seen, held, known, loved,
Yeah,
and pushed to your edges. That experience is there's an art. There's an art to that.
yeah, yeah. You're receiving yourself in breath work in such a beautiful and powerful way as well. I just think that that's profound, right? In order for others to receive us, it's like in order for others to see us, we need to be able to see ourselves. In order for others to receive us, we need to be able to first receive ourselves. And breath work
Truth.
brings us oh, in. We can't be
Truth.
anywhere else but in presence when we're with the breath in that way, which I just love. So expanding your capacity to feel good, which is, you know, this is the abundance club. I know that to be such a powerful pathway to abundance, to letting in. And really, the word that comes through for me is like allowing. Like, what does this mean for you right now in your mission, in your work? That's become such a big part of what you obviously value and believe in. Like, how do you feel this helps us in cultivating a rich and fulfilling and abundant life?
We're in a movement now in the spiritual world of coming out of hustle culture and coming into alignment culture. So, this is the language so many of us are using now, and it's because we've remembered that everything that we really truly want, our soul really truly wants, always comes when we let go.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing pretty much as saying allowing or surrender.
Yeah.
And I remember manifesting, was the hashtag manifesting. I remember manifesting a trip to Hawaii for my family through one of my most profound experiences of surrender and letting go, which was a psilocybin mushroom journey. And it was my first one. And I've since had 5 other journeys.
Mm.
Breathwork to me is a more clear, condensed version
Yeah.
of a mushroom journey. So that's another reason I think breathwork is so fabulous. But coming back to this thing about surrender, letting go, you know, it's been so much of my life was just trying too hard. And I still have to constantly catch myself when I'm trying too hard. And remember, you know, everything beautiful. Now, that's not to say we can't and we shouldn't prepare, because preparation, I think, is, the one of the most important things, because then the opportunity gets to meet that preparation and we let go and we surrender.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's to me, it's like do the things that whatever it is appropriate to what you're wanting to prepare. So for some people that's studying, for some people that's chanting, for some people that's going out and actually like taking action and helping and serving others,
Mm.
or maybe it's all three,
Mm.
ideally. Whatever that preparation is to get yourself to the place of that moment and then letting go,
Yeah.
right? Like letting go of the outcome, letting go of the preparation, letting go of the ideal vision, the quotes, perfect pictures. My meditation teacher used to call it perfect pictures. And just fully being in the moment is, so many of us know that's when the best things have come. And
Always.
we just have to continuously remind ourselves and be reminded, prepare and let go.
It's a continual reminder, right? It's like we kind of fall asleep at the wheel a little bit and we'll go back into our ways of feeling like, and I'm speaking from my own experience of feeling like we need to make stuff happen.
Mhm.
And I agree, it's moving away from more of that masculine approach and that hustle into more of the feminine attunement. And I believe it's like attunement with your soul. As we said earlier in the conversation, our soul has all of the answers. And then
Mhm.
and then it's knowing when to act and
Yeah.
knowing when the best thing that we can do is pause and rest and receive. And sometimes the most productive thing we can do is in the energetics, right? Is in the breath work, is in the
Yeah.
expanding our capacity, our energetic capacity, is in our journaling practice, is in the meditation. And I love all, I've created so much more in my life from that than, the action is like this part, but it really needs to be that divine action, that inspired action. So
Yeah, because I think people hear let go and they hear surrender and they hear allow and they think, well, how do I do, right? And there's that kind of friction. And to me, it's we must take action based on our aligned wisdom.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're not going to just sit and say affirmations all day. We have to take action,
Mm,
but from that place of surrender and aligned wisdom.
mm, mm.
Because you can, I do this all the time. I take action not from a place of surrender and aligned wisdom.
Yeah,
It's just like you're on the hamster wheel and you're not getting anywhere and you get to play that game and then you're like, oh yeah.
you're
Oh
throwing
yeah.
spaghetti at the wall and just going, what's going to stick here? Something's going to. And, and that's those protective parts of us that come up going, nothing is happening. We've got to do something. We need to hustle. We need to make this happen. So it's a real soothing paring back and just remembering that it's all taken care of. Of course, of course. I love that. I'm going to use that, of course. I love that. It feels very freeing.
I saw that you were posting about
Mhm.
nothing's happening.
Mm,
And I think that is deeply profound that
mm,
you're addressing that
mm.
because I think so much of what I and other people I know have experienced is that feeling of nothing's happening.
I don't think that we've been taught how to be in the discomfort. I
Oh,
think
right.
that
For
we have
sure.
been programmed into feeling that unless we are achieving and accomplishing. Like I even had a moment the other day of reflection of this year, and I found myself saying to myself, but I haven't really achieved as much as what I thought I would. And I had to really, like, I quickly caught myself. But that's because of our conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to reflect on how I feel and how far I've come in my growth, regardless of what it might seem in other metrics, right? Of measurement of success. But what true success means to me right now is being able to be present with my children and being able to be regulated in my nervous system and being able to take conscious space at night before I go to bed and first thing in the morning to tap into my soul guidance. Like that is success, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
that's
I
success.
agree. We
Yeah.
have to keep reminding ourselves, wait, what is my success?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, like I think similar to you is freedom
Yeah.
to create when I want, how I want, what I want. Oh,
And
that's
being
the
able
best thing in the world.
absolutely, right? Just on your terms.
Yeah.
Claiming the driver's seat alongside spirit. Like that is true success. That is true success. And having someone say to you that you are deeply grounded in your authenticity, right? Like that is better than any kind of paycheck, right? It's like, because no one can take that from you, can never lose that.
I'm gonna say yes and.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we
say
receive it all. We receive it all.
I'll take both.
And and we can have it all, right? And as women, yes, we can have it all. We can be all of those things because we're worthy of that. I love it. I love it. I love this conversation. I love being in your energy, Siri. It's beautiful to have you here. What do you want to
Thank you.
share before we wrap it up? What is something that you want to share? I mean, I'd love you to share about how people can find you as well. But
Yeah.
before we get to that, this last thing I want to ask you is like, and I think we've touched on it a lot today, but if there's anything further that you want to share about your hope for women to, if you could part any wisdom or any hope for women and what they can remember about themselves, women, mothers, CEOs, entrepreneurs, anyone, just like,
I want for women to feel so deeply seen, known, heard, loved, validated, dignified, free to be their authentic selves, to be vulnerable and strong, to shine their light, to be the lighthouse that they are, to feel expansive, to claim their joy, to know that they are worthy.
mm,
These are all things that we as humans struggle with and need to come back to and get to come back to. And so, you know, if I could give your listeners one thing, I would give them the truth that they are beautiful and amazing and incredible, even when the voice inside says otherwise, to just know that they're validated, they're enough, they're whole, they're already whole.
mm,
So, expanding our capacity to feel good is not just about feeling good. Expanding our capacity to feel good is about the ability to feel all of it and to feel safe for ourselves.
amen. Beautiful. Love
Yeah.
that. Thank you for that. Such a gift, right? When someone can shine the spotlight in that way, and it's just the spotlight back into themselves that it's all here. It's all here. We get so used to looking outside. We get so conditioned in feeling like it's outside of ourselves. And that's such a tragedy because it's all here. So such powerful reminders. And I love that I can feel the wisdom that you channel through your soul, which is beautiful. I love that.
Thank you. I feel all of the things you're talking about, I feel from you too, Amy. So
Mm,
thank you. You're
mm,
such a gift. Being
mm,
in your energy is a gift.
mm.
You've just breathed life into me today. This
Yeah.
was everything. I'm so grateful for you.
Yeah, it's great how we can do that for each other, right? Just beautiful. All right, so how do people find you and get in touch with you if they want to experience a session with you or
I would love for you to email me, Siri at sageandblushwellness.com. So I can actually have a conversation with you. You can also find me on Instagram, which is at Siri Baruc Thornton. I'm sure you can
I'm
put
going
it
to put
in
it
your
all in
show
there.
notes.
Yeah, it's on the show notes.
And I really would love to hear what you think about this episode. Like, what resonated for you? What don't you agree with? Or what do you have questions about? I'd love to hear what you think of this episode.
Yeah, please share. I always think of podcasting and you might relate to this. I taught yoga for many years, like for 15 years. And when you're there, you have instant connection and feedback from people that are receiving what you're offering. And in podcasting, it's going out into the darkness. It's going out into the void. And you don't and sometimes you do and you receive that feedback and you receive and which is great. And I know it, but it and so I just want to put that out there that it means a lot if it strikes something in you, if there's a resonance to communicate that, to share that, because that gives so much. Like that gives the energy back. Like that just reminds
Yeah.
us of why we're doing what we're doing. And
Yep.
just fuel to keep going, keep sharing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Siri. This has been so much fun. And I hope we can chat again at some point. Lots of
Thank
love.
you. You're
Beautiful.
lovely. Thank you.
As you.